this is some crowd. This is what our group. I know so many of the people. Oh, these people. They're tough as hell. They're from Georgia. They should be tough. I want to just say a special hello to Georgia. You have a lot of excitement going on outside. You know that, right? Right, Kelly? We have a lot of excitement going on outside. We're doing very well, they tell me, but, you know, one day's not too much. But looks like we're doing pretty well. What do you think? Congressman Barry? Right? I hear we're doing well. I'm thrilled to be back in the incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, which is what you are. You are hard workers, and it's going to pay off. We're going to take back our country. We're going to turn it around so fast. Before we begin, I want to send our love and prayers to everyone here in Georgia, hit by the hurricanes. You got hit hard, as well as Florida, North Carolina. They really got hit hard. South Carolina got hit pretty hard. Virginia, Alabama, and Tennessee. That's a lot of hurricane. That was a big hurricane. I thought we were sort of over. Yeah, that's Trump country. You're right. It's Trump country. It is indeed. We love it. We love the people. We wish they took better care of Trump country, right? You know? Our hearts are with the families of every citizen who is tragically lost and all of the people who lost their home. A lot of homes were lost, too. A lot of people were lost. The citizens of Georgia are tough and resilient, and the state is going to come back stronger than ever. We're going to make sure it comes back stronger than ever. And I want to thank you, Governor Brian Kemp. He's done a really good job, and his staff for the work he's done and they've done. And God bless you all despite the storm. Early mail-in voting in your state is now underway, and early in-person is underway. But I'll tell you what, I'm hearing very good things now. It hasn't been going on too long, but we're seeing numbers. They're saying, wow, those are big numbers. So, in fact, they set a record for the number of ballots today, right? A number, right? So if you have a ballot, return it immediately. If not, go tomorrow as soon as you can. Go to the polls and vote. Then, for the next 21 days, get everyone you know to get out and vote. We don't want to take a chance. We can't lose this country. We're going to lose our country. If we're not successful, we're going to lose our country. From the very beginning of this journey, I've been on a mission to rescue our nation from a failed and corrupt political establishment. And are they corrupt? $500,000 for a painting. That's not good, is it, huh? I said, well, that one they'll never get away with, Byron. I said, no way. How did Byron do? Did he do a good job of it? Great. Great guy. Stand up, Byron. Big star. Barry, he's going to be a big star, this guy. Do I have him right? He's got to be a big, he already is a big star if you get right down to it. Thank you very much. Good job. I heard every word. I was taking pictures. I said, boy, that guy's doing a good job. And to give you back the country that you believe in, the country you were born in, and the country that you deserve. That's what you want. Everywhere you look, under Kamala Harris, the American standard of living is in a free fall. Nothing works. You ever notice nothing works? It's like everything they touch turns to, I won't say it. No, everything they touch, including their rescue plan, which they didn't even have a plan. You're working more hours for less money to afford smaller houses, worse cars, fewer groceries, with absolutely nothing left to save. Our schools don't teach. Our cities aren't safe. Illegal aliens are pouring in by the millions and millions and millions, and we're teetering on the brink of World War III. Other than that, I think we're doing quite well. Kelly's saying, man, this is really depressing. But exactly and look, we're down to the wire now when you think, huh? 3 weeks from tonight, the people of Georgia are going to end Kamala Harris's reign of failure. And we are going to launch a new golden age of American success for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Going to be a golden time. And I want to thank a man named Elon Musk because he did a big favor. He did. You know, when I was down here early on, I was down and we were with the folks and they were going, sir, we need Starlink. I said, what the hell is Starlink? He said, do you know Elon Musk? It's the most incredible thing because especially in North Carolina, they had no communication whatsoever. They were just right there. They were just wiped out and they had no communication. And it's hard to get. It's hard to get. So I called up Elon and he endorsed me. He gave me the greatest endorsement. And how about that rocket the way it came in yesterday? Was that crazy? Was that crazy? You know, I was on the phone with somebody, and I have the television on, no sound or anything. And I'm looking at the screen, but I'm talking to somebody. I guess couldn't have been that interesting a person, and I'm watching the screen, and this big monster, the thing's like 20 stories tall, and it's coming down, the fire's pouring out of it from all angles. And I say, I don't know, could you hold on a minute? There's something happening on television. I've never seen anything like this, Brandon. The great Brandon Beach. Does everybody know Brandon? Great. Thank you, Brandon. What a good patriot he is. But I said, I've never seen anything like this. So it's coming down, down, down. And I said, oh, man, it's going to be terrible. It's going to hit the gantry or whatever they call it. It's going to hit it. It's going to knock it over Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's going to knock it over. It's going to knock it on its ass like you knock your competitors on their ass, Marjorie. Right? And she does. She is highly respected, let me tell you. Smart. So it's coming down, and I didn't like the angle. I said, come on, baby. And then all of a sudden, you see the fire pouring from the right side. It straightens up. Boom. I mean, the thing. And I said, that was amazing. And I forgot the guy that was on the phone. He was, you know, they have a certain respect. We're leading everybody, so they hold on forever. You know, they would have held on for Doug. They would have held on for an hour, but I just totally forgot because I've never said anything like this. So Elon, I said, Elon, could you do me a favor? Starlink, yes, what would you like about it? I said, they need hundreds of them in North Carolina and also in Georgia. They really want them in Georgia too because they lost their wires, they're down. And I'm talking to him, and as I'm talking, I get a call from somebody in North Carolina, thank you for the Starlink. And I said, how the hell did you do that? No, it's true. Elon. He's different. No, he's different. And I said, Elon, I don't know what Starlink is, but they like it. They like it. But no, it was sort of funny because I'm on the phone and it's all done. And I'll tell you what, it got here and it was delayed once it got here. It was bad things happened. You know, that's happened with a lot of people. But they ultimately got it. And I said, how does it compare to the lines? They said it's better. And I mean, the guy just is a fantastic guy. So we want to thank him for his big endorsement. And he really does. You know where he is right now? He's in Pennsylvania campaigning for me. Is that great? He's in Pennsylvania campaigning. And we were in Butler, Pennsylvania, honoring Corey, the firefighter who lost his life. Two other good guys, by the way, two other very good guys. But he lost his life, and Elon was there, and he wore the black hat. I did not know we had a black hat. It's black with black letters, okay? And he called it Dark MAGA. And he hasn't taken it off. He loves that hat. No, but we want to thank him. He's been really great. He's a great patriot. He's a brilliant guy, too. I mean, who could? I said, does anybody else do that with the rockets? Because I've been watching this stuff for a long time. Byron, have you ever seen that before? I said, can the Russians do it? No. Can NASA do it? No. Can anybody do it? No, only me. I said, keep it going, man. That's pretty cool. It's the coolest thing I've seen in a long time. Pretty cool. You know, we got to protect our brilliant people. We got to remember that. There aren't too many brilliant people around. Not too many, right, Marjorie? Marjorie knows better than anybody. There aren't too many. Oh, your lieutenant governor's right there. Look at this. We have big power, huh? Thank you, Bert. With your vote, we will create millions of new, great-paying jobs. Wages will soar. Your taxes are going to fall. You saw that. Your net worth will skyrocket. America will be confident again. You know, America has lost its confidence. It's a terrible thing to say. I said it one time, and I said, you know, it's actually true, but it's going to come back very quickly. America will be respected again. The American people will be optimistic again, and you will be proud of the life and the future you are going to give and giving to your children. Our legacy will be nothing less than the rebirth of the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore. You don't hear about the we used to hear about the American dream. My father used to say, you want to live the American dream, son. And I said, what's the American dream, Dad? And I didn't quite make it. I wanted to make it. No, I could have the American dream. You know what? I had the American dream. Did I need this? But I wouldn't swap it. I wouldn't swap it, Byron. I was saying yesterday, I could be on the waters of Monte Carlo. I could be all over the world enjoying myself, but I'd much rather be right here with you. It's true, because we have a mission. We have a mission. And we don't have a choice, right? You know, we really don't have a choice. Somebody said, why are you doing this? I said, because we don't have a choice. We're going to make America great again. What's better than that? I have a lot of rich friends. They go here, they go there. They're boring as hell. Nobody cares. They put on their bathing suit. They don't look a lot better than Biden. And except they have fancier beaches, right? And look what we're doing. We're doing something. If we win this election, it will be the greatest event, political event or otherwise, in the history of our country. In the history of our country. And we're going to turn it around fast. It's going to go very quickly. We're going to turn it around fast. Kamala is turning us into a third world nation, which is true. You know, I didn't know she didn't pass her bar exam. Did you know that? I'm hearing this. I don't want to tell you about it, please. I don't want to mention. I will not mention the fact that she didn't pass her bar exam. So I'm not going to mention that. But with our victory, we'll become the greatest, strongest, freest, safest, and the most powerful nation the world has ever seen. We're going to put it back together fast. 4 years ago, we were respected. Now they laugh at us. Other countries laugh at us. I had a good interview today with Bloomberg. Did anybody see that? That was a great interview. He was a Trump hater. And brilliantly, my staff didn't tell me that. I said, who is this guy? Sir, he hates you very much. He's been after you. So they got me all started before I went up. But it was a great interview. And I think it really showed the plan that we have, because he was unable to dispute it. We're going to bring so many companies back into our country. And a lot of them are going to be based right here, right in the great state of Georgia. There's going to be a lot of things happening. It's going to happen very fast. Remember, I used to say we're winning too much. You're going to say to me, Marjorie's going to come with the lieutenant and Lieutenant Governor and Doug, and Kelly's going to be there. Got a lot of cash, I'll tell you. And Loudermilky's coming in with his beautiful family. And you're going to be begging me. You're going to be saying, please, sir, there are too many companies coming into Georgia. Please, please. We can't take it anymore. We don't have enough people for the jobs. Please, we don't want any more companies. We don't want any companies. That was the takeoff on the winning. We're going to win so much. You're going to come, please, sir. We can't win anymore. We're winning too much. We had a lot of fun. And we had a lot of fun. We have a new one now. All those companies are going to be pouring in. But starting on day one, I will quickly defeat inflation, and we're going to bring down the energy prices fast, liquid gold. And we will make America affordable again. Prices are still going up. You know, they're going up again. And they surged again very viciously last month. And here we go again. And Kamala Harris has no idea what's happening. They say, what do you think of inflation? What? What do you think of inflation? She didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Other than that, she just got it right under toe, right? Now, she didn't really know what they were talking about when they said inflation. What is it? Kamala Harris has developed a policy. You know what her plan is called? I have no plan to fix it. That's what she says. That I have no plan to fix it. She's changed 15 policies. You know, on occasion, somebody will run and change one, like they'll be for the death penalty or not for the... She's changed 15 policies. No fracking, no this. Every single thing she's changed. Go back a year and a half and take a look. 15 policies. I've never seen anyone get away with one major change. The whole thing is different. She loves walls now. She loves walls. She loves our police, but she was in charge of defund the police. Do you go from a defunder of the police? I don't think so, Lieutenant Governor. Do you go from a defunder? She was a leader of defund the police, and now she says, I love the police. In the meantime, I got every police group in the nation is supporting me. See? And the Border Patrol came out. Did you see that? The Border Patrol came out. Thousands and thousands of them came out 2 nights ago, and they endorsed Trump. They said, we endorsed the most beautiful. Paul gave a beautiful speech. Incredible people. I know them all very well. They never met her. They never spoke to her. They were asked, did you ever get a call from anybody in Border Patrol? Yes. Did you ever call them back? No. They never once spoke to anybody, even in authority or not authority. Nobody. They never spoke. And here we have the biggest travesty. I believe it's a bigger problem because of the murders and everything else coming into it. I believe, look, inflation and the economy are always big, and they're big, what they've done to our economy. But I really believe that the border and the illegal immigration and 21 million people, many of them criminals, is a bigger thing than inflation. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but I think so. It's rated number 3 after the economy and inflation. I put them sort of together, economy, inflation. I think they sort of belong together. What do you think? I think so. But I think the biggest thing is when you have 13,099 murderers, people that are 4 people that were ready to be executed. They said, rather than executing them, we'll let them come into America. 13,099, many of them killed more than one person, and they're happily ensconced in Georgia. They're all over the country. And these are killers. These are people that will kill you quickly. They don't need too much of an excuse. They have, as they say, a short fuse. You don't want to get into a little tiny argument that for somebody else would be an argument. For them, it's not good, right? It's not a good situation for you. No, we don't want them in this country. We're getting them out of this country fast. And I think it's bigger than the economy. I think it's bigger as horrible. You know, inflation is a country buster. It's busted many countries, but I think it's bigger than inflation even. Over the past 4 years, her inflation nightmare has cost the typical family $29,000. Think of that, $29,000 in inflation. The reason you feel poorer is thanks to Kamala, and that's the fact is you are. And she was the one, they called her the taxing queen in San Francisco. You know, she destroyed San Francisco. San Francisco, if you go back 18, 19 years ago, was the #1 city. It was the best city in the country. Now it's not even livable. And I speak against myself. You know, I own property in San Francisco, right? I own a lot of property. I own property in California. And every time I say this, I say, you know, I'm saying, please don't say it in my, please. Because every time I say it, I depreciate the value of my property. Guys that would have said, I love that place you have, and I own on the water, the most gorgeous things right on the ocean. I always say, I have the ocean. Pebble Beach only has the bay. That's my ad. And I never even need it because it's always full, but I have the ocean. Pebble Beach has the bay. The truth is, every time I speak this way, I hurt the value of my properties. But ultimately, I don't give a damn because this is much more important. She destroyed, along with Gavin Newsom, the governor, Gavin Newsom, they destroyed it, the two of them. What she did to San Francisco, and then she became Attorney General. What she did to California is a disgrace. And now she wants to do that to the United States of America. We're not going to let that happen, Marjorie. Her plan will raise taxes for the typical American family by an estimated $3 $70,000. Take a look at this.
Joe Biden and I are about to get rid of that tax bill.
Calling for a full repeal of President Trump's tax cuts.
If Kamala Harris was elected president, there are many different tax policies which could cripple the economy. But the first thing she wants to do is allow these Trump tax cuts to expire.
Even the New York Times admits that 85% of the middle class got a tax cut.
Americans will face a hike. The Tax Foundation finding that a couple with 2 kids making $165,000 a year would have to pay over $2,400 more in taxes.
And on day one, I will repeal that tax bill. Joe Biden and I are about to work to get rid of that tax cut. Joe and I are about to get rid of that tax bill. Joe Biden and I are about to get rid of that tax cut.
Everything from a 70 to 80% tax rate.
I think that's fantastic. We've got to increase the corporate tax rate. Part of that is going to be about repealing that tax bill that they just passed. And also looking at estate taxes are going to have to go up. We will tax capital gains, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes.
Taxing unrealized gains just doesn't seem fair in any sense of the word.
When the value of your home goes up, you pay higher taxes even if you don't sell your home.
Your value of your home never moves the way the stock moves to say, we're going to tax what you don't have. That's a sore point, and it's a big deal. Is that something you think she firmly believes in?
I think it's part of the proposals of the campaign.
Under my plan, there will also be a carbon fee. There has to be some connection between the fee and bad behaviors, and there has to be, and that we have to monitor whether it's going to be passed on to consumers. But I'm going to tell you that should never be the reason not to actually put a fee, and in particular, a carbon fee.
Don't let Kamala Harris fool you. Harris not only supports taxing service workers' tips, news reports confirm Biden and Harris have weaponized the IRS to confiscate your tip money. Harris and Biden have literally unleashed the IRS to harass workers who receive tips. And they just may be coming to your house next. Only President Trump has a plan that ends all taxes on service workers' tips. President Trump, he's on your side.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
You know, the only problem with putting it up, the fake news, and there's a lot of them back there. So I have a lot of friends. No, I have a lot of friends. They watch the rallies on television. This isn't a rally. This is just a get-together. Look at it, all the way up to the bleachers. But they watch. Hello up there. It's a nice place. But they watch. A friend of mine comes, he says, you know, the only problem is when you put up the videos, they don't show it on television. You know why? Because they don't want to move the camera a little bit up. They don't want to, because they don't want to do anything that's good for us. They don't want to do anything that's good for us. And you know what? They ought to be ashamed of themselves. I'm going to ask them to put on woke. Do you know this? What this is all about? We don't have a woke military, but some people think there are some people in the top. Can you put that woke military? Put it up, the Master Sergeant.
You little scumbag! I got your name! I got your ass! You will not laugh! You will not cry! You will learn by the numbers!
Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month. And actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
So you're a killer! Sir, yes, sir! Let me see your war face! Sir, you got a war face? Ah! That's a war face! Now let me see your war face! Ah! Bullshit! You didn't convince me! Let me see your real war face! Ah! You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praying for war. But until that day, you are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
How to
Abracadabra, these bitches know I got answers the way I...
It looks to me like the best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass and ended up as the brown stain on the mattress. I love working for Uncle Sam. I love working for Uncle Sam. Lets me know just who I am. Lets me know just who I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps.
So we won 2 beautiful, big horrible in many ways, but we won 2 world wars with that attitude. And we didn't win with the woke stuff, but our military is not woke. We have some people on the top that are woke. They'll be gone so fast your head will spin, okay? Under the Trump administration, we will put more money in your pocket. We will let you keep more money than you ever thought possible. We're bringing it down. We're bringing the cost down. We will have large tax cuts for workers, and we are going to have something very special. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. No tax. That's a big one. And you deserve it. You know what? You put up with inflation for the last 2.5 years that shouldn't have ever been here, would have never been here. Think of it. We wouldn't have had the war with Russia and Ukraine. No way Russia would have done it. You wouldn't have had October 7th with Israel. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had that horrible, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, the way they withdrew. We were going to withdraw, but we were also going to keep Bagram, the biggest military base in the world. We gave it to China. You know who has it now? China has it. 1 hour away from where they make their nuclear weapons. And on that day, we lost 13 great soldiers, and many were obliterated. No arms, no legs. The face was just disastrous. What these people, nobody ever mentions them. But we had a lot of people badly, badly hurt. And what a shame to see what's happened to our country, the border, all of the things that we've suffered in the last almost 4 years. We're going to get it back so fast. We're going to be proud again. We're going to be very proud of our country. Isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't need a teleprompter? What do you think, Byron? It's better, right? Huh? Did you see when her teleprompter crashed last night? She was talking about 32 days, Mr. Congressman. 32, she goes, and the election will be in 32 days. 32 days. The teleprompter crashed. 32 days. She kept going. I would have loved to, you know, it kicked back in. It's called a kickback. Like some people know a lot about a kickback. It's called a kickback. They know in this administration. But no, it's a kickback. It kicks back in. And it did kick back in just in time because she was about ready to eat the goat. Byron goes, yeah. This was, you know, when you do this, you have to have one ability. If the teleprompter goes, because it goes, I figured 5% of the time. It goes, it's gone. And you're standing up in front of all of the fake news, which is actually a much bigger audience than this because you got millions of people watching. So you're standing in front of the fake news with fake reporters and, you know, some very bad, and some good ones. And some good ones. I'd say 5%. Right? What do you think, Barry? 5%? I think so. 5%, maybe less. But, and if that happens, and if you don't do this well, you are ridiculed the following day, right? And I've had to go off with Bernie Moreno, and Ohio was doing very well. But I had 57,000 people out there, television blazing, and he's going for the nomination, and it wasn't looking good. The wind was blowing at 49 miles an hour. I got onto the stage, and I'm looking at these two things, and they were like, so you can't read them. But I said, don't worry about that. They're going to blow off. And within the first minute, they blew off the stage. They were like 30 yards down the road. And I'm standing there. And that's when you find out whether or not you have what it takes, right? You're up there all by yourself. You're up there all by yourself, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. And you better get going. You can't do that 32 stuff that she was doing. Why did he have to fix that damn teleprompter? But it is true. I have a friend, he just wants to go into politics, but he's petrified of. He said, I have one phobia. He's a very smart guy, very rich guy. He wants so much to be in politics. I said, do you have any problems? Well, I have a problem with, I have a phobia against public speaking. I said, don't go into politics. If you have that phobia, I would not bother, right? What do you think, Byron? No good, right? He wouldn't come up and warm up the crowd like you did, would he? Stand there. Get me off. To crush inflation, we will quickly become energy independent, and we will frack, 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 and drill, baby, drill. She won't frack. She's not going to frack. She's not going to frack. Pennsylvania, please, Pennsylvania, remember, she's not fracking. Her whole life is, we will not frack, we will not frack. She just go through a whole life like this. All of a sudden, oh, I look forward to fracking. No, it doesn't. I will cut your energy prices in half within 12 months. You're going to get them in half, 50% in 12 months. Because we have liquid gold, nobody else has it. We became number one with me, number one in the world in oil. We have oil and gas, number one. Russia was number two. Saudi Arabia was number one. We were number three or number four. When I left, we were so far above them, and we were going to be not only, we were energy independent. We were going to be energy dominant. We were going to sell to Asia. We were going to pay off a lot of debt. We were all set to go. And then we had a great election because we got millions more votes, but something happened a little bit. We can't let that happen again. We're not going to let that happen. Look what happens when bad things like that happen. I will cancel Kamala's insane electric vehicle mandate immediately. Everybody will drive an electric car, they say. And soon, the problem is they don't go far. They're very expensive. They're made in China. And they have some other things. Now, with that being said, I think they're phenomenal. They really are. I say that because of Elon. Elon, they are phenomenal, by the way, but, for certain whatever. And we're going to have hybrids. We're going to have gasoline-propelled cars. We're not going to have hydrogen cars. Hydrogen cars is the new thing, right? Do you know about that? Hydrogen is the new car. They say it's great. Has one problem. If it explodes, you're dead. If it explodes, they actually say if it explodes, you're unrecognizable. You call your wife over. They call up the wife, would you please come here and take a look and see whether or not this is your husband, because we cannot see. And she goes to the nearest tree, which is about 100 yards away, and she says, no, it's only blood. There's nothing there. She says, I can't tell. So hydrogen has one problem. It's extraordinarily dangerous. Other than that, the car works quite well, actually. I won't get near. I will never get. I don't care how good it becomes. No matter. And they'll probably say they're making it safe, but it'll never be safe enough for us congressmen, right? I also announced last week that we will make interest on car loans fully tax deductible. Because affording a car is essential to restoring the American dream. I got a call from a big guy on Wall Street, said, where the hell did you come up with that idea? Think of how simple that is. How great is that? Because now we're going to make more cars because of it, right? They said, where did you come up? When you think it's so simple. It was mentioned to me by somebody a week ago. I said, has nobody think a car loan deductible? Wouldn't that be nice? It's going to spur the industry, but what's really going to spur the industry is what we're doing with taxes and tariffs. Every company is going to come pouring back. But the interest deduction is so great. And I say it's like the paperclip. 125 years ago, a guy took a piece of metal and he started playing games with it, and he had the paperclip. And now, since then, everybody that's seen the paperclip says, shit, why didn't I think of that? It's so simple. That's like that for the car loans, right? It was so simple. Nobody thought. The biggest guy on Wall Street called me. The smartest guy. He's got like 183 IQ. He said, where the hell did you come up with that idea? That's pretty good. As we rebuild our economy, we will also restore our borders, if you don't mind. For 4 straight years, Kamala has imported an army of illegal alien gang members and migrant criminals from prisons and jails and insane asylums and the worst mental institutions anywhere in the world, not South America, all over the world. They come from Venezuela, they come from the Congo in Africa, and she has resettled them very nicely into our communities to prey upon our innocent American citizens, right? When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. It's going to be a restoration. One of the deadliest and most vicious migrant gangs said nice people. The only thing nice about them, they make our criminals look like nice people. Because now we say, you know, I thought those guys were tough. They're really not tough, not compared to these guys. Remember when she said, migrants coming in do not cause crime. Really? Check out the front page of the New York Post today. They've taken over Midtown Manhattan. But one of the deadliest and most vicious migrant gangs that Kamala has imported into our country is the savage Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Aragua. Have you heard of them? Tren de Aragua. In Aurora, Colorado, and communities in all 50 states, this gang is terrorizing law-abiding citizens, including taking over multiple apartment complexes, and they are really going, and they are vicious as hell. Take a look at it.
Open borders, deadly consequences.
Border crisis. Record high crossings are putting a strain on cities across America.
It is a full-blown invasion.
Armed Venezuelan gang members storming an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado.
When people talk about migrant crime, this is what they're talking about. Biden and Harris had created a program to bring them in under humanitarian parole.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been released into the United States.
My 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was murdered in her own room. Kayla's murderer was apprehended by Border Patrol crossing illegally into the U.S.
Kayla's murderer had been improperly released into the United States.
Abolish ICE. Yeah, we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
More than a dozen people suspected of being Tren de Aragua gang members right here in San Antonio.
The gang members had been terrorizing the apartment complex.
New details in the murder of Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national.
And was paroled and released into the country by the Biden administration.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder and the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
Court documents suggest a group of men arrested for beating and robbing a Dallas woman last month are members of a Venezuelan street gang.
Manuel Hernandez was booked by Colleyville police just 2 days earlier and released the day before the robbery.
And that's number one. That's number one. I will tell you right now. That beats out the economy. That beats it all out to me. It's not even close. The United States is now an occupied country, but on November 5th, 2024, that will be Liberation Day in America. Liberation Day. Thank you. So sad. This is what you call an unforced error, what they've done to this country. And to think that she's running for the president of the United States is a disgrace. And she's allowed millions of these people into our country, destroying our country. And it's not easy to fix either. We'll get some and we'll get them out, then they'll get somebody else who has a nice look and a child. And it'll be the poster, it'll be, oh, how horrible are we? It's a very tough thing to fix, but we're going to fix it because we have no choice. But we're going to start with these horrible criminals, and there are lots of them. 425,000 illegal aliens convicted of crimes are now free to roam in our country, including all of those murderers and all of those drug dealers and all of the human traffickers in women. They traffic in women. You hear children, you hear men. No, they traffic really in women. Right here in Georgia, our nation was robbed of a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student, Laken Riley. You know Laken very well now. And after months of prodding him, Biden couldn't pronounce her name. He said, He said Lincoln Riley, and Lincoln Riley is the football coach, or the coach. And this was in Congress, couldn't even get the name right. Lakin was a brilliant young student, top in her class, going to be a great nursing student. Everybody admired her. She was killed viciously while out on a jog. She was assaulted, beaten, and horrifically murdered by an illegal alien. You saw the picture from Venezuela. The savage monster who murdered Lakin was let in and released into our country by Kamala Harris. She came in through open borders. Nobody even checked him. Come right in. Come right in. His brother was also in Georgia illegally. He's suspected of viciously murdering someone also in the Venezuelan gang. He's in that gang. In September, an illegal alien who Kamala imported through her open border process was arrested in Tennessee for strangling a 25-year-old girl to death and leaving her body covered in blankets for days. Her parents, all of these parents, they'll never be the same. He had a prior arrest record in the United States, was shielded for deportation by the horrible, horrible laws, rules, and regulations of Kamala. I can't believe how they allowed this country to become like this. This country is not, it can't go on like this. And they're getting worse. You look at little towns, villages, cities, and even the big cities, they're petrified that this is going to happen to them. The governor of Colorado is a radical left Democrat, but he just doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. Springfield, Ohio. We love Ohio. We won Ohio every time by a lot. We're leading now by a lot. And I know Springfield, beautiful little place, 50,000 people. They've just deposited 32,000 illegal migrants into the town. They don't speak English, but they've taken up the schools. They don't speak English. What they're looking for is interpreters because they have no idea what they're going to do. Nobody speaks, very few of them speak English. So they're looking all over for interpreters. That's what they want to find. When you go to the hospital, you can't get into the hospital because the hospital's all occupied. And they want to be so nice and they want to be politically correct. And the mayor seems like a nice person. He's saying, well, we'll figure out how to make it work. But you can never figure it out. It can never work. Think of it. 50,000 people. All of a sudden, they have 32,000. They've almost doubled the size with people that came from a rough country, really a rough, rough country. Immediately upon taking the oath of office, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. Have to do it. I will rescue every town across America that has been invaded and conquered. They've conquered our country. This is an invasion of a military force. They have weapons that are on par with our U.S. military. But we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals to jail or kick them the hell out of our country, ideally the second, because we don't want to have to pay for the cost, so we'll ideally bring them back to their country. When I first came into the White House, a general came up. I said, General, I want to get MS-13 gangs. They're the worst in the world. MS-13 is very similar, but probably even nastier. And we had thousands of them in our country because Barack Hussein Obama could not get them out. Because the countries from where they came would put airplanes, big ones, on the runway so you couldn't land. They wouldn't let the buses through, and they gave up. Years ago, they gave up, and I said to the general, I want them out. He said, sir, they won't take them back. I said, who? And they said the countries. I won't embarrass them because I know the presidents very well, and they're very streetwise, very smart people. And I said, how much aid do we give those three countries? Sir, we give them $750 million a year. I said, inform them that they're delinquent, that they aren't allowing us to bring back people that belong there, and they are getting no further aid at all from the United States. And the following day, early in the morning, I got calls from all three separately, all three. Sir, there seems to be a misunderstanding. And I said, no, there isn't. You sent them over in a caravan. The caravan, I made up that name too. I'm good at names. You know the names? I can't use those names too much because many of them were for Republicans. We had some beauties, but we can use Pocahontas and other people. But I said, listen, I said, you wouldn't take them back. Sir, there seems to be a misunderstanding. We would love to take them back. We love MS-13 so much, sir. Please, please let us take them back, sir. Please. And we sent them back, and they took them like nothing. Like nothing. So we send them out of our country, and if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. That way they're not coming back. That way they're not coming back. And you don't hear these ideas from anyone else, I can tell you, and I'm not proud of them, but you also have to wage a little bit of common sense, don't you? Because we're the party of common sense. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. Kamala's migrant invasion, and that's what it is also devastating our great African-American community, stealing American jobs, crushing wages, undercutting the voting power of our own citizens, and bringing drugs, crime, and death to our country. And the African-American community and the Hispanic community is being devastated with the jobs. The numbers are down 6, 7, 8, 9%. They're going to work and they're saying, I'm sorry, we're not going to take you anymore. People that have worked there and worked there well for years are now being told they no longer have a job because they have illegal immigrants coming in and taking their job. And I'll tell you what, any African American or Hispanic, and you know how well I'm doing there, that votes for Kamala, you got to have your head examined because they are really screwing you. They are really screwing you, right? It's happening in numbers. You're going to hear about it. It's a big story. It's a big story. You're going to start hearing about it in a little while. But it's a big story. It's a real, it's terrible. It's terrible. People that have been here for years, they've done a good job. They've got their family. Now all of a sudden, one day, they don't have a job anymore. Kamala's open border policy is a complete and total betrayal of African American communities and Hispanic American communities, and unions are next. Oh, they're going to take on the unions, you watch. Virtually 100% of all of the jobs created in the last year have gone to migrants. I don't know if anybody knows that. The jobs that were created, first of all, the jobs that they got, which made their numbers look better, but they don't count really. They're bounce-back jobs. Those are jobs that we had. We had the greatest economy in history. We had to take a pause for the pandemic. We did a good job on that. And then the people, they call it bounce-back. It's standard, a very standard phrase, but they call it bounce-back. They bounce back. But think of it, of the jobs created, almost every one of those jobs was taken by a migrant. Under Trump, Americans will always come first. Take a look.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant Sandra, accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend, showed no remorse or regret.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition. US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
The cost of homes have spiked. Home buyers need to earn 80% more than they did in 2020 to afford a house.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
So she would do nothing different. Think of it. You have the worst administration in the history of our country. The happiest person, you've heard me say this, Jimmy Carter, because he looks brilliant by comparison. His administration, by comparison, is brilliant, so he's happy. He's an old guy now, but he's a happy man. Just this week, I was proud to receive the official and unanimous endorsement of America's Border Patrol agents, all 100%, all of them. And I was also honored to receive the endorsement of the Fraternal Order of Police, something they don't do easily. I mean, you know, because... But they said, we have no choice. We have no choice. 400,000 law enforcement officers nationwide. So they did something to Biden that was amazing. They stole the election from him. I mean, I'm not a fan of Biden. Who could be? But they stole the election. They took it away like candy from a baby. And he's angry. And they're all angry. They're angry as hell. I think he likes me more than he likes her. Can you believe it? I believe that. I believe that, Steve. He likes me more than her. Can you believe it? But we will restore law and order in America. But here's what, to do it, you have to do one thing. I don't want your money. I don't want anything. I just want you to get out and vote and get your friends to vote. That's all. I don't want money. Just go and vote. So we're pleased to be joined with some incredible people, friends of mine, talented people. You have a lot of great people in the state. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, please, Burt, stand up. Members of Congress, Mike Collins. Mike, great guy, tough guy. Tough guy, we're not playing, you don't play games. He said, oh, put me in that committee. I want to be in that committee to cut costs. He'll do a better job. Nobody could do like that. Thanks, Mike. Somebody that's been unbelievable at searching out really bad, sick politicians on the other side. He was accused of, he walked in with a couple of young constituents to show them the Capitol, as I remember it, and they accused him of showing in Russia's what? And he became, instead of most people, they say, oh, please, he became the opposite, indignant and wild, and he has done some job on the committee. Barry Loudermilk. We love you, Barry. Courage. Remember, I remember that. They have pictures of walking around with 2 kids from the area, and the parents, they were Russian. These people are sick. And all it did is made him angry, and you have done some job, so we appreciate it. A man that we've said hello to, that you've experienced. He's got a big future. He's a fantastic guy and a friend of mine, Byron Donalds. Byron, thank you. A very strong, smart person, a woman who is amazing, actually, to me. She's really amazing. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you. And another warrior who's always been with us, Rich McCormick. Where's Rich? Thank you. Thank you, Rich. And a really good guy, a former congressman, so respected by everybody, Doug Collins. Thank you, Doug. And your former senator, who was really a terrific person and respected so much in Washington and still is even, I think, even more respected now, Kelly Loeffler. Thank you, Kelly. Good job. the next congressman from Georgia's 3rd Congressional District. He's worked with me since like 2015, before 16. And everybody, after they got to know him, they said, could we use him too? He was, there was nobody like him. He's going to be a congressman. I think he always wanted to be a congressman. And when the seat came up in his district where he grew up, I said, go ahead. And did he win? Man, did he win, Bert. What's going on with him? He's making us all look bad. He got so many votes. Brian Jack. Where's Brian Jack? Thank you. There he is. There he is. Is he a natural or what? Everybody loves this guy. I love this guy. It's not my thing either, but I love him. He is a special character, that one. Are you enjoying it, Brian? Good. He's got the word. He got the whole deal. He's good. He's going to be good for a long time. Your Insurance and Safety Fire Commissioner, John King. Thank you, John, very much. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Public Service Commissioner, Bubba McDonald. Bubba. What a man. A very special state senator. I just met his daughter. You know, believe it or not, I was at another place 2 hours ago. I've been doing this for 42 days straight without arrest. Can you believe it? 42. But 2.5 hours ago, I was in another little different part of your state, and this beautiful young woman said, my father is Brandon Beach. And I'm much more impressed with him now than it was 2.5. This guy is such a great patriot. State Senator Brandon Beach, thank you. And your daughter is fantastic. She was so proud of you. I said, he's that good, isn't he, right? She said, he's even better than that. You got a good daughter. So it's great to meet her. Georgia GOP Chairman Josh McCoon, and he is good. He is good. So, Josh, stand up for how the hell, are we doing well? Are we doing as well as I'm hearing? All right, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing. And we're no longer in poll territory, right? We're in territory of like votes coming in. You know, we're not really looking so much at polls anymore. The votes are coming in, and they're coming in at a nice level for us, right? He's done a fantastic job. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. A woman who I've known for a long time, and she's always been there for us. She's a special woman, very religious person. Every time she sees me, she prays. And I say, from you, I accept that, and I will always accept it. Alveda King. Thank you, Alveda. Thank you. Good genes. She's got very good genes. Beautiful genes. And a friend of mine, one of the most successful business people in the country, a great, great developer from Florida, New York, and a lot of other places, but just a terrific person. And he's become, I think he loves politics, but he wants to just make sure we all do well. That's all he wants. Mr. Steve Witkoff. Steve? Thank you, Steve. Great. Thanks, Steve. So here are the facts. Kamala Harris is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. That's Pocahontas. Remember, her mother said, she's Indian. Why? Because she's got high cheekbones. That was the reason. So I immediately called her Pocahontas. And that was the end of her. She was leading in the presidential race, you know. And I don't think she likes me too much. But the mother said she had high cheekbones, and I said, Pocahontas. And then all the hell, the world went crazy. And she actually went out and got a test, remember? And she was so happy. 1,024. In other words, maybe 1,000,000 years ago, there was a possibility. But she was happy. She said, this proves I'm an Indian. And I said, no, I have more Indian blood in me, and I don't have any. I'd love to, but I don't have any. And that was the end of her presidential run. That was the end. I did the world a favor. Of course, look what we got. Look what we got. Kamala destroyed our economy. She was an original creator to fund the police movement. And anybody who wants to defund the police for even 1 week or 1 day is not worthy of being president of the United States. It's a radical left person. Kamala vowed to abolish ICE. She wants to let her millions of illegal Medicare, or she wants to raid Medicare. That's what they're going to do, raid Medicare, Social Security. She wants to ban fracking as California Attorney General. That's what she did. And she redefined child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person as totally nonviolent crimes. She said they're nonviolent crimes. She pledged to confiscate your guns and endorsed a total ban on handgun ownership. She even called for free sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens in detention at taxpayer expense. And here's something she did that was terrible. On her resume, she said she worked at McDonald's. Oh. She never worked at McDonald's. So in conclusion, with your vote this November, we are going to fire Kamala and save America. Right. We will teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always cherish our great American flag. We will cut your taxes, crush inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and create the greatest job boom the world has ever seen. We're going to do that. It's not going to even be hard. We are going to do it through low taxes and high tariffs, actually. We won't have any inflation. And we're going to do it. We're going to have a boom, and the auto industry is going to boom like it's never boomed before. We will hire American, buy American, build American, grow American, and show the whole world that the American dream is back, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. I will stop the global theft of American jobs and turn the U.S. into the manufacturing superpower of the world. I will end the war in Ukraine, stop the chaos in the Middle East, and prevent World War III. I can do that. I will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect they so dearly. I'll tell you what, we have to give our police, we have to take care of our police. And it's turning out to be more dangerous than ever. And once we give them that power back, it will be much less dangerous than ever. But right now, being a policeman or a policewoman is very dangerous. We have to give them back their honor, and we have to shield them, and we're going to indemnify them against being hurt because, you know, they do something that's good, and they lose their family, they lose their pension, they lose their house, they lose everything. Now, we're going to indemnify them if they're right, and we're going to find that most of them, they're going to right. And, you know, you always have bad apples. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. But sometimes you have to just say, but we always have bad apples, and we'll do everything we can to get those bad apples the hell out. But we have to take care of our police and our law enforcement. That's why our country is going to hell with crime. We will strengthen and modernize our military. We will build a missile defense shield all around our country, and it'll be made right here. A lot of it's going to be made, as you know, you do a lot of it. It's going to be made in the USA, but it's going to be made, a lot of it, right here. And we will put the stars and stripes on the surface of Mars very soon. Very soon. We'll get Elon, get those rockets going, Elon. Get them going. You know, he's going to send a rocket up very soon to pick up the two guys. How would you like to be stuck in space? I said, when are you sending that? Very soon. I'm just about ready to send it. It's like, you know, it's like sending a bus for him. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. They will get critical, and we will do this. Critical race theory and transgender insanity will be out of our schools immediately. Immediately. And we will keep men out of women's sports. I will defend religious liberty, your right to free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms. And the Second Amendment is under siege. You know that the Second Amendment is under siege. It will not be 4 years. It was under siege, I will tell you. But we're going to protect our Second Amendment 100%. After years of Thank you. After years of building up other countries, we will protect our borders, defend our families, and protect our American suburbs, cities, and towns. We're going to protect our country. We will end the sanctuary cities immediately and stop illegal immigration once and for all. No more sanctuary cities. We will put American citizens first, American children first, American patients first, American taxpayers first, American workers first, and American communities first. We will put our country first. We will put communists, Marxists, and fascists last, and they will always stay last. From Savannah to Columbus, from Marietta to Macon, and from Augusta to Atlanta, we inherit the legacy of red-blooded American patriots who poured out their blood, sweat, and tears to defend this country they love. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up those big, beautiful skyscrapers. You're welcome. Won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. And we are not going to lose the nation that they worked for and fought for and died for. We are not going to lose it. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be conquered. We will defeat the enemy at all levels of combat. We will defend our civilization, reclaim our sovereignty, and we will be a strong, proud, and free nation once again. Right? Thank you. Thank you very much. Everyone will prosper, every family will thrive, and every day will be filled with the opportunity and hope of a lifetime. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda once and for all. We want a landslide that's too big, too big. We can't let anything happen. Early voting is underway. Get everyone out. Get everyone you know. Just get them all out to vote. Go tomorrow. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. These will be, despite the fact that we've been set back so far by incompetent, vicious, foolish leadership, we will have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. And with your help from now until Election Day, we will redeem America's promise and we will take back the nation that we love. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will stop us. We will press forward to our magnificent American destiny, and together we will fight, fight, fight. We have to get out and vote. We have to win, win, win. We've got to win, win, win. If you don't win, 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 we've all had a good time, but it's not going to matter, right? Sadly, because what we've done is amazing. 3 nominations in a row. What we've done, we got to win. If we don't win, it's like it was all for not very much. We can't let that happen. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Georgia. God
Take it from Masaba. Bright is right.
Celebrate with Starlight, the glamorous new collection from Bata, starting at just rupees 12.99.
Bata, make your way.
इस फेस्टिव सीजन इंडियाज लीडिंग इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स रिटेलर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्मार्ट लेकर आया है इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा फेस्टिव ऑफर। खरीदें अपनी पसंदीदा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और पाएं मौका जीतने का 50 लाख कैश प्राइज। आज ही अपने नजदीकी स्टोर को विजिट करें, शर्तें लागू।
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Have a seat.
I like that crowd. That's a nice group of people. Thank you very much.
Standing ovation.
Thank you.
President Trump, thank you for doing this, as we said. And you heard the reception there. The business people of Chicago, like everywhere else, they like a lot of the things you want to do in terms of tax cuts and some of the spending proposals. But like many business people, what they're often worried about is the cost. And the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, which is a bipartisan outfit, put out some predictions the other day. If you add up all the promises you've made, and your plans would add $7.5 trillion to the debt. That's more than twice the total for Vice President Harris. You're on course to push up debt up to 150% of GDP. This is a very business-like audience. Why should they trust you with that?
Because we're about growth. She's got no growth whatsoever, and we're all about growth. We're going to bring companies back to our country. You look at even today, as I was driving over, I see these empty, old, beautiful, like steel mills and factories that are empty and falling down. Some have been converted to senior citizens' homes, but that's not going to do the trick. And We're going to bring the companies back. We're going to lower taxes still further for companies that are going to make their product in the USA. We're going to protect those companies with strong tariffs, because I'm a believer in tariffs. I'm not sure that you are. I don't think you are, but I congratulate you on your career. But to me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff. And it's my favorite word. It needs a public relations firm to help it, but to me it's the most beautiful word in the dictionary.
Tariffs, do you think that will bring in the revenues? To use another bipartisan group, Peterson Institute, they say they'll only bring in $200 billion. That is that's barely the cost of 2 of your promises.
Yeah, but that's like for what company are you talking about, okay? Look, I've brought in with tariffs, and I was just getting started. Then COVID came, and we had because I tell you what, I did a very good job in COVID. Nobody knew what the hell it was. I call it the China virus because I like being a little more accurate. But when that came, but we got hundreds of billions of dollars just from China alone, and I hadn't even started yet. But tariffs are two things, if you look at it. Number one is for protection of the companies that we have here and the new companies that will move in, because we're going to have thousands of companies coming into this country. We're going to grow it like it's never grown before. And we're going to protect them when they come in, because we're not going to have somebody undercut them. And I could give you an example of this if you want. Would you like me to? Because it just
Give me a quick example, then I will come back.
I just found out about it. So I've been talking about for the last year about Detroit and how horribly it has been. It's just horrible, because we've been talking about Detroit's coming back for 40 years. And it's never come back. And it's very dependent on the car industry. Well, they've lost 60% of the business over a long period of time. And what happened is I found out a friend of mine builds auto plants. That's all he does. He builds auto plants. That's what he's good at. He doesn't want to build an apartment. All he wants to build and he builds the biggest in the world. And for the last year and a half, if anybody's heard me speak, I was talking about Mexico as a tremendous challenge for us right now. Tremendous. China is building massive auto plants in Mexico. And they're going to build them, and they're going to take those cars and sell them into the United States. They're very near the border. And they're going to have all the advantages and none of the disadvantages. And that's going to be the end of Michigan. It's going to be the end of, frankly, South Carolina. Going to be the end of everything. So I've been talking about this, and I said to him about 9 months ago, I said, you know what? I want you to do me a favor, John. His name is John. I don't want to give his last name because he might not like it. But I said, I want to see an auto plant. I want to go and see one of these. You press a button and everything works, right? I want to see one of the big ones. He said, all right, good. I said, where do we go? I'd like to go to Michigan. I'd like to go to someplace in the United States. He said, no, we can't do that. Why? We're not building anything big in the United States. That's not where we don't build the big ones here. I said, where are you building the biggest ones? He said, in Mexico. We're building giant plants, the biggest plants anywhere in the world. In Mexico, I said, so you mean they're going to make cars cheaply? They have advantages over labor and other things, and they're going to sell them into the United States, and they're going to put Michigan out of business. Is that what? I don't know anything about that. All I do is build the plants. If you want to see a plant, we'll go to Mexico. I'll show you the biggest plant in the world. That was 9 months ago. I saw him, and I talked about it all the time because I think it's a serious threat to our country, because not only autos, but other things. So then I see him. 2 days ago, I was talking at another club, very nice club, and like this, except, I don't know, I think you people are probably even wealthier, okay? This was in Detroit, okay, which was appropriate. And I was showing them all sorts of charts about how their car, it's just gone down. It's like terrible. And I saw him, and I said, oh, how are you doing? How have you been? I said, could I ask you, how are those plants that you mentioned, those giant plants that you're building in Mexico, how is that coming along? Have you finished them? No, sir. They abandoned the project when they heard you're running. They abandoned the project when they saw that you were winning and doing well. I said, wow, isn't that beautiful?
All the same.
Because I told them, and I said it publicly.
भारत बढ़ा है भारत बढ़ेगा लेकर अपने प्रगति के रंग नियो भारत के
Tap the banner to watch the episodes on Asian Paints YouTube channel.
They're not going to sell one car into the United States. I said, if I run this country, if I'm going to be president of this country, I'm going to put a 100, 200, 2,000% tariff. They're not going to sell one car into the United States because we're not going to destroy our country because I know you're an anti-tariff guy, but I'm the exact opposite. If I had, there was no other way I could have stopped them other than, what am I going to do, negotiate with Mexico or China? You're not going to get anything from that. I said I'm going to put a 100, 200, or 300. I'm going to put the highest tariff in history, meaning I'm going to stop them from ever selling a car into the United States. So I just see the guy by accident. I see him. He says, sir, they've abandoned and by the way, they built foundations. They were really rocking. They were going to do it. They thought that I was going to win, or maybe they're just holding off. I tell you this, if I don't win, those factories are going to wipe out this country. They're the biggest factories ever built for cars. They're going to wipe out our country. If she wins, and she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. If she wins, she's not going to be thinking about, I couldn't, every speech I made having to do with cars, but every speech I made having to do with tariffs, I'd mentioned that our country is being threatened by Mexico. Now, all of those things, beyond even the car companies, all of those things are now dead. They're dead. I asked him, will they start? Probably not. They're dead as a doornail. If she gets in, it'll start up again.
President Trump, I let you give your example.
No,
you talked a lot about tariffs. You look at the American economy, 40 million jobs rely on trade. It accounts for 27% of GDP.
Okay.
If you cut that off, that's also going to have an effect on many, many business people here.
Yeah.
Tariffs also have another side. Isn't that something that you have to acknowledge?
No.
You could be plunging America into the biggest trade war since Smoot-Hawley.
But there are no tariffs.
You're going to stop. There are tariffs already.
No,
at the
there are
moment.
no tariffs. All you have to do is build your plant in the United States, and you don't have any tariffs.
But people, a lot of places like this, there are a lot of jobs that rely on foreigners coming here. You're going to basically stop trade with China. You're talking about 60% trade on that, 60% tariffs on that. You're talking, as you said, 100, 200% on things you don't really like. You're also talking about 10, 20% tariffs on the rest of the world. That is going to have a serious effect on the overall economy. And yes, you're going to find some people who will gain from individual tariffs. The overall effect could be massive.
I agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well,
let me just let me tell you. I know how committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative. It will have. I'll go a step further. If you don't do this, this country has no chance.
40 million jobs is a lot of jobs to rely on.
They're all coming back. You've lost
jobs. Those are 40 million jobs in America that rely on trade.
Are you ready? John Deere, great company. They announced about a year ago they're going to build big plants outside of the United States, right? They're going to build them in Mexico.
And you threatened
they're also going to build.
They stopped.
That's right. I said, if John Deere builds those plants and not selling anything into the United States, they just announced yesterday they're probably not going to build the plants, okay? I kept the jobs here, and I'll keep John Deere will stay here. And I'll tell John Deere, if you do build outside of the United States, you can if you want. For instance, India is a very tough country. It's not only China. China is I would say, probably the toughest. But there are a lot of tough. You know what's very tough? European Union. Our beautiful European countries, wonderful, wonderful. If you add them up, they're almost the size of us. They treat us so badly. We have a deficit. I said to Angela Merkel when she was there, she's not there anymore, I wonder why, but when she was there, I said, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in Berlin? Why, Donald, you have none. He said, that's right. How many Fords do we have in Frankfurt? I don't know, none. I said, that's right. You know how many cars we have? Mercedes-Benz, BMW, all of the different Volkswagen, millions and millions of cars. And then I said farm products. They don't want our farm. They don't want anything from us. We have deficits that are crazy. And we're not going to have them anymore. We're going to put tariffs on them, and they're going to do, and you know what they can do? The Mercedes-Benz will start building in the United States. And they have a little bit, but you know what they really are? Assembly, like in South Carolina. but they build everything in Germany, and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it.
Can we come back? Let's come back to the Europeans in a second. What about consumers? People out there.
They're going to be the biggest beneficiaries.
Yeah, critics say your tariffs will end up being like a national sales tax.
Nope. The countries will pay.
If you have America at the moment has $3 trillion worth of imports, you're going to add tariffs to every single one of them. That is going to push up the cost for all those people who want to buy foreign goods.
Now, what's going to happen?
That is simple mathematics, President Trump.
It's not. Yeah, it is, but not the way you figure it. I was always very good at mathematics.
Yes.
Let me tell you, you're saying $3 trillion. Those companies,
$3 trillion worth of
and they don't have to pay. And if the higher the tariff, the more likely it is to have them come into the country.
The higher the tariff, the more you're going to put on the value of that piece, those goods, the higher people are going to pay in shops.
Ready? The higher the tariff, the more likely it is that the company will come into the United States and build a factory in the United States so it doesn't have to pay the tariff.
That will take many.
No, it will go quickly.
Years.
In fact, I'll tell you, there's another theory is that the tariff, you make it so high, so horrible, so obnoxious that they'll come right away. When I do the 10%, 10% is really, first of all, 10% when you collect it is hundreds of billions of dollars. The numbers that you're talking about, all reducing our deficit. But really, so there's two ways of looking at a tariff. You can do it as a money-making instrument, or you can do it as something to get the companies. Now, if you want the companies to come in, the tariff has to be a lot higher than 10%, because 10% is not enough. Guys, they're not going to do it for 10. But you make a 50% tariff, they're going to come in. Let me tell you the other thing about tariffs that's great. Our steel companies, as you know, 3-4 years ago, they were all when I was in office, I saw a man from a big steel company, and he was devastated. I knew him for a long time, and it's been a tough business. It was a great business many years ago, and I would not let U.S. steel be sold to Japanese, by the way. It's psychologically, I think it would be a
That's the
terrible
Nippon
thing.
Steel, as you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't let it be sold. But I would stop it if it hasn't been completed by the time I'm president, because I think it sets a horrible tone. But I had a lot to do with steel. We were going to lose all our steel companies because China, as you remember, was dumping steel at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And I put a 50% tax on that and tariff on that, all dumped steel. And it was also bad steel. It was what they call dirty steel. It wasn't good steel, which is a bad thing for structural components of buildings and planes and things like that. They were dumping crap into our country. And I put a 50% tariff. I started at 25. I raised it to 50 because the 25 didn't quite do it. I raised it to 50, and that did it. They stopped dumping steel. And I saved our steel mills by having that. We saved it. We saved our steel. Now, what was left, because we've lost so much, but there are certain companies you have to have. There are certain things you have to have. Steel, you have to have. If you go to war, there's a possibility you go to war. I kept us out of war. I was the only president in 82 years that kept you out of a war, except I defeated ISIS, but I inherited that war. There's no wars. And by the way, and I think it's very important, you can go, I call it the weave. You can call it, you have the weave as long as you end up in the right location at the end. But while we're talking about it, we have never been so close to World War III as we are right now. With what's going on in Ukraine and Russia and the Middle East.
Well, let's.
I had no wars in the whole world. Think of it. And I talked them out of wars. I talked plenty of countries out of wars. I had the whole world, other than ISIS, which I inherited, and I knocked out ISIS in a matter of weeks. It was supposed to take 4 to 5 years. I did it in a matter of weeks. We actually have a great military. We don't know how to use it, but we have a great
President Trump, with great respect, I was asking about tariffs. You've gone off about that. Seeing you brought up tariffs and foreign policy, many people would say the biggest problem with your tariffs is actually geopolitics. You, in your first term, you got some credit for effectively saying that there was a Cold War against China. That's what America was in. You look at the last Cold War against the Soviet Union, America won it in part because it rallied allies to it. You're talking about slamming allies with 30%, 20% tariffs. Isn't this time you're going to end up trying to rally the West and you're dividing it instead? Isn't that the real problem with tariffs, even beyond all the problems due to the economy, where You keep on bringing up these individual examples, but the overall effect is going to be dramatic.
No, the overall effect will be...
Answer first about foreign policy.
Yeah, I'll do that.
How does it help you take on China?
It helps
turning all your allies against you?
Tremendously, because China thinks we're a stupid country, a very stupid country. They can't believe that somebody finally got wise to them. Not one president, Bush, Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? Not one president, think of it, not one president charged China anything. They said, oh, they are a third world nation, they are developing. Well, we're a developing nation too. Take a look at Detroit. Take a look at our cities. We're a developing nation. We have to develop more than they do. We're way behind them. You take a look at what's happened to our cities. So what I'm saying is this.
My question was about your allies, not about China. You are going to annoy the
our allies,
rally behind you.
But our allies have taken advantage of us more so than our enemies. Our allies are the European Union. We have a trade deficit of $300 billion with the European Union. Our allies are Japan. You know, Abe was a very good friend of mine. He was a great guy, great. And I said to him in Japan, he was assassinated. And he was a great man. He really was. I didn't see too many like him. And he got very sick and he had to take off. And then he was actually making a comeback. He was going to make a comeback and he would have won easily. But he was a great gentleman, handsome, wonderful man, respected by everybody. And I went to him and I said, Shinzo, we have to talk. What? Trade. And he goes, I'll never forget it. I know. I said, what do you know? I knew you'd come to me. Why do you say that? Because I can't believe, I wouldn't tell the story if he was alive, actually. I said, I can't believe how many years it's been that nobody even negotiated with us in America. I said, Shinzo, you have to pay for your cars. You're sending millions of cars. You don't accept a car from us. You don't have one car that you accept, and yet we're selling 3 million, 4 million of your cars. I said, Shinzo, on agriculture, you won't even accept our agriculture. And I renegotiated the whole trade deal from a little disadvantage because I was stuck with a bad deal. I mean, I got stuck. We have trade deals that were so bad that I said, who are the people that are doing it? They're either very stupid or they're getting paid off, okay? It's one or the other. It's very simple. We have the worst trade deals all over the world. South Korea, I love South Korea. They're wonderful people, extremely ambitious. They have a money machine. We protect them from North Korea and other people. North Korea is very nuclear. I got along with him very well. Kim Jong-un.
Yes.
But wait, they don't pay us anything. And I said, this is crazy. If I didn't put tariffs on, you know, the motor companies, the car companies, they make most of their money at small trucks. I put tariffs on China, but I put 27.5%. Otherwise, we'd be flooded with Chinese cars. And all of our factories would close. We'd have no jobs at all in the auto industry. That goes for electric, by the way, which is a killer, which I've explained, and I don't think I have to bore anybody by talking about it. But I put tariffs on South Korea because they were sending in trucks. And I put tariffs on, fairly substantial tariffs. Do you know that our car companies make almost all of their money with the small trucks, SUVs and small trucks? If I took those tariffs on, you would be inundated. Every car company would be out of business. And I got calls from Ford. I got calls from everybody saying, sir, I can't believe you're doing this for us. You saved our company. They make all their money with us. They make most of their money with the small truck and, you know, the SUVs.
Many consumers ended up with more expensive cars. But let me just come at you on foreign policy.
You wouldn't have a car company.
You have said that Taiwan should pay for U.S. protection.
Yeah.
I ask because this morning you just mentioned North Korea. The Chinese army, literally as we speak.
तो इस शुभ मुहूर्त भारत की पसंदीदा 100cc हीरो मोटरसाइकिल स्प्लेंडर प्लस, HF डीलक्स और पैशन प्लस पर पाएं आसान और आकर्षक फाइनेंस सुविधाएं। डाउन पेमेंट केवल ₹1999 से शुरू। तो इंतजार किस बात का, आज ही अपने नजदीकी हीरो शोरूम जाएं और घर ले आएं अपनी नई पसंदीदा 100cc हीरो मोटरसाइकिल। नियम व शर्तें लागू।
Are engaged in rehearsals for a full naval blockade of Taiwan. So I suppose my question to you, if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops to defend it?
Well, the reason they're doing it now is they're not going to do it afterwards, okay? So it's, you know, so they're doing it now. They want to do it China now. Look, I had a very good relationship with President Xi, and a very good relationship with Putin, and a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un, who has a nuclear force that you won't even believe. And by the way, today it was announced for those that he just blew up the railroad going into South Korea. That means South Korea is now cut off from Russia and China and various other places. Cut off by rail.
Mr. Trump, you just mentioned...
No, but these are big things. I have to mention them.
Yeah, you just mentioned Putin, though. And this has been this controversy of the past week. Can you say yes or no whether you have talked to Vladimir Putin since you stopped being president?
Well, I don't comment on that, but I will tell you that. If I did, it's a smart thing. If I'm friendly with people, if I have a relationship with people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing, in terms of a country. He's got 2,000 nuclear weapons, and so do we. China has a lot less, but they'll catch us within 5 years.
That sounds
If I have a relationship, I don't talk about that. I don't ever say it. But I can tell you what, Russia has never had a president that they respect so much, but more importantly, or less importantly, I guess, I went into Russia, and people said, oh, he likes Putin, and Putin likes him. Let me tell you, the first thing I did was terminated Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. It's a pipeline from Russia to Germany and all over Europe. I said, wait a minute, to NATO. I said, so let's get this straight. My first meeting, I said, so Putin's building the biggest pipeline in the world. He's going to Germany, but all over Europe. And you're paying him billions of dollars a year, billions of dollars a month. Germany's paying billions of dollars a month. And we're supposed to protect you against the guy that you're paying all this money to. So is there something wrong with my thinking? So he's building a pipeline to Germany, and we're spending, and by the way, until I got there, we were spending almost 100% for NATO because we had all these delinquent countries. They weren't paying. When I got there, I said, you know what? And by the way, my biggest fan is Stoltenberg, just leaving, Secretary General of NATO. He said, when Bush came in, he made a speech and left. When Obama came in, he made a speech and left. When Trump came in, he made a speech and he said, let me see your books. And I found out in the books that nobody was paying. There were only 7 countries that were paying. We were supporting NATO. They screw us on trade so bad, the European nations. And then on top of that, they were screwing us on the military. So they're taking a tremendous advantage of us, $350 billion deficit on trade. And we're then supporting them. In other words, it's not sustainable. You can't keep doing this. You can't have that, China, all of these countries. And stupid people made these deals. I saw trade deals that were so stupid that you'd have to be, that was so bad that you'd have to be an idiot to sign them. And we signed them for years. We had, I could tell you trade deals that I have never seen anything. I said, who would agree to this? They had to be corrupt. They had to be corrupt. To make those deals, they had to be corrupt because there is no way a rational human being, I always say either corrupt or extremely stupid, because there's no way a rational human being would ever sign the trade deals that this country signed. And I got out of many of those deals. I told South Korea, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay for your military. We have 40,000 troops over there. You're going to have to pay. You become a very wealthy country. Just to finish, you become a very wealthy. They said, no, 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 we will not pay. We will not. We haven't paid since the Korean War. I said, no, you got to pay. I said, would $5 billion a year to start off with? No, no. They went crazy. They agreed to 2. I got $2 billion for nothing. And I said, here's what we're going to do. They said, we can't agree to this because we have to go through Parliament. They have the Parliament or whatever their legislature is. I said, that's okay. I fully understand that. Make it $2 billion. But next year I'm going to talk to you again. And I was going to make it $5 billion. And they knew it was coming. The happiest people to see that it was Biden instead of Trump with them, South Korea. You know what they did? They cut off the deal that I made where they were paying us. They backed to nothing because they went back to Biden and they gave it to him for nothing. They were willing to pay. We have 40,000 troops in harm's way, very serious, because you have North Korea is a very serious power. They have tremendous nuclear power. And I said to South Korea, you got to pay. And they agreed to do it. And Biden then cut it back, and it's a shame. And I could tell you 50 deals. And if I were there now, they'd be paying us $10 billion a year. And you know what? They'd be happy to do it. It's a money machine, South Korea. You're going to mention Taiwan. You wanted to mention Taiwan.
You mentioned Taiwan. You said you would defend them. You also seemed to imply that Putin, you would not. Putin, you seemed to imply that you had talked to him without actually confirming.
I said I don't comment on those things.
What about? Can I ask you a particular thing about the dollar? You talked about wars at the New York Economic Club. You said that if you lost the dollar as a reserve currency, it would be like America losing a war.
Yeah.
You look at what you're going to do in terms of protectionism, drive countries to use the other currencies, and all that debt is also going to lessen the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency.
If I'm
you worry about
the
that?
dollar is so secure, your reserve currency is the strongest it'll ever be, and no country.
You said that, President Trump. At the moment, there is a thing called the Trump trade in the markets. Do you know what that is? The Trump trade is very simple. People are betting that your policies are going to drive up debt. They're going to drive up inflation, so they're going to drive up interest rates. Are the investors wrong?
Yeah, I had 4 years no inflation. I had 4 years no inflation.
But that was when you had much.
I had 4 years. It's better than that. And Biden, who has no idea where the hell he is, okay? Biden went 2 years with no inflation because he inherited from me. And then they started spending money like drunken sailors. They spent so much money. It was so ridiculous, the money they were spending. They were spending on the Green New Scam. The Green New Deal. You know, it was conceived of by AOC +3. She never even studied the environment in college. She went to a nice college. She came out. She just said, the Green New Scam. She just named all these things.
President Trump, the markets are looking at the fact you are making all these promises. Latest one was car loans. You're flooding the thing with giving giveaways.
But we're going to grow.
I was actually quite kind to you. I used 7 trillion. The upper estimate is 15 trillion. People like the Wall Street Journal, who's hardly a communist organization,
but you don't know.
They have criticized you on this as well. You are running up enormous debt.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about it.
You're trying to turn this. You've
been wrong about it.
You're trying to turn this into debate. There are business people.
But you're wrong. You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff. You've been. Let me tell you about currency. You're going jumping a lot of different subjects. The reserve currency. Let's stick to reserve currency. That's where you started, right? The reserve currency is under threat because you have Iran, you have Russia, you have China. China's the one that you have to worry about because they want it.
Yeah.
They want to have the yuan be the thing of power. So here's what I'm doing. Again, I hate to go back to it. If somebody says, and I know countries want to get out because they don't respect our leadership, they look at this guy, they say, you got to be kidding, and she's worse than him. By the way, I never thought I'd say this. She is not as smart as Biden, if you can believe it. This is not what, we had 4 years of this lunacy, and we can't have it anymore. We're not going to have a country left. Okay, currency, very important.
Yes.
And if you want to go to third world status, lose your reserve currency. We have to have that. We cannot lose it. If you'll go to third world status in this country because you take a look at the way things are running. If a country tells me, sir, we like you very much, but we're going to no longer adhere to being in the reserve currency. We're not going to salute the dollar anymore. I'll say that's okay. And you're going to pay a 100% tariff on everything you sell into the United States. And we love your product. I hope you sell a lot of it into the United States, but you're going to pay 100% tariff. He will then follow it up by saying, sir, it would be an honor to stay with the reserve currency. That will be like just playing. That's not even chess, that's checkers. But you don't have listen to this, you don't have other people that can talk that way. You know, a lot of people say, we love Trump's policy, but we would like to have another messenger because we don't like him. He's a little bit crass. And then, actually, it was Lindsey Graham, I must say. He was a progressive, in all fairness. But Lindsey Graham said, but Trump's policy doesn't work without Trump. And there's a lot of truth to that. Macron was going to, nice guy, Emmanuel. He's a wise guy, but he's for France, and we're for the USA. You know this story. He was going to tax American companies doing business in France, a very substantial tax. And I told my people, I didn't even like the companies, but I'm representing American companies. And this guy, so I said, call Macron and call his people and say, we're not going to stand for that. And I got Mnuchin and, a lot of guys, smart guys, if I can finish. Yeah. I'll go longer if you want, if it helps, because you got to be able to you move too quick. No, you got to be able to finish a thought, because it's very important. This is big stuff we're talking about. You can't go that quickly. You've gone from the dollar to let me just tell you. So I said, no, I'm just telling you basic, it's called the weave. It's all these different things happening. Yeah. So let me just say, so I said to Mnuchin, call him up and say, no way. He did, and he came back to see me. He said, they won't do it, sir, it's too late. I said to somebody else, you call him. Then I said, let me do it. And I called him. And I said, Emmanuel, you're taxing American companies very substantially. You're not doing it with other companies. You must think we're stupid. It's not going to happen. But Donald, I cannot do anything. It's too late. Or it was approved by a legislature. I said, that's okay. Here's the story. Every bottle of wine and champagne that you send into the United States, effective immediately, and I'm signing it as I speak, I'm charging you 100% on every bottle of wine and champagne. They like the wine and champagne, right? Every bottle of wine and champagne that comes into the United States of America has a tax on, starting on Monday morning, this was a Friday, of 100%. And that's better than you're doing, okay? And he said, no, you cannot do that. I said, I've done it. It's already signed. Monday morning goes, may I call you back? Yes. He calls me back in about 3 minutes. We have decided to remove the tax from the companies. I did this all day long, but you think Biden does that? I don't think so.
Let me ask you a very factual question. The Federal Reserve, you say you don't want interest rates to go higher. You've gone backwards and forwards about whether you want to keep Jerome Powell as chair of the Federal Reserve. His term as chair runs on to May 2026. Would you seek to remove or demote him?
Look, I think it's the greatest job in government. You show up to the office once a month and you say, let's see, flip a coin. And everybody talks about you like you're a god. Oh, what will he do? I mean, before, the guy used to walk into my office, he was like begging. He was fine.
But you did talk about you talked about removing him once.
I did, because he was keeping the rates too high. Yeah. And I was right.
And you would do that again?
In fact, he actually dropped them too much when I did this, because I said I was threatening to terminate him. There was a question as to whether or not you could. And there was an article in the New York Times, 2 half pages. 1 page said I can do it by lawyers. 1 half page said I couldn't. And that was enough for him. And he dropped the hell out of the rates. He dropped them too much. He went so, he dropped them actually too much. Okay. Here's the story. I think that if you're a very good president with good sense, you should be able to at least talk to him. I don't say make the decision at all, but I mean, I've been a very successful businessman. I've done really good, much better. Now people are understanding how good I've done because they're seeing it much better than the fake news wants to give me credit for.
Just on really the issue of whether you would replace.
I think I have the right to say, as a very good businessman and somebody that's used a lot of sense, I think I have the right to say that, I think I'm better than he would be. I think I'm better than most people would be in that position. I think I have the right to say I think you should go up or down a little bit. I don't think I should be allowed to order it, but I think I have the right to put in comments as to whether or not interest rates should go up or down.
When you looked at the Supreme Court, you came up with a list of people who you thought of replacing, bringing in as Supreme Court justices. Yeah. Would you do that with the Federal Reserve?
Well, I no longer need it. It was a great thing. In fact, a lot of people said I got elected because of that. I was an unknown quantity. I was very known as a business guy, but I wasn't known as a political person or the leader of a country. And people were very worried about, actually they were worried, am I going to be liberal? if you want to know the truth. And somebody said, would you come up with a list of 20 or 25 justices, in this case mostly judges, that you'd put in case it were necessary? Now, it's amazing because I got 3 in 4 years. Most people get none. Because, you know, you put them in, they're young. You tend to put them in young. Only stupid people put old. You know, you don't put old in because they're there for 2 years or 3 years. Right? So you put them in young. So I got 3. A lot of judges, a lot of presidents get none. I got 3. And I think they've been 3 great choices too, by the way. But by the way, I think they have been really great choices. But I got 3 judges, and you know what they want to do? They want to now put up to 25 justices into the Supreme Court, the radical left, and that can't happen. So I think I've done a great job on putting in justices and 300 judges, and that made a tremendous difference in the country. You know, I was a little lucky because Barack Hussein Obama did not get his judges approved, a lot of them. So I ended up with 125 judges before I got there. So again, most presidents don't even get to put a Supreme Court judge in because there's 9, and, you know, they're there for a long time. Most of them are there for a very long time. And I got 3, which is a very unusual situation. I got 3 in 4 years.
Maybe we can change the subject to technology, seeing you wouldn't answer about the Federal Reserve. The US Justice Department is thinking about breaking up Alphabet, as Google likes to be known now. Should Google be broken up?
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes. That they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
But the question is about Google, President Trump.
Yeah, look, Google's got a lot of power. They're very bad to me, very, very bad to me. I mean, I can speak from that standpoint. They only have bad stories. In other words, if I have 20 good stories and 20 bad stories, and everyone's entitled to that, you'll only see the 20 bad stories. And I called the head of Google the other day, and I said, I'm getting a lot of good stories lately, but you don't find them in Google. I think it's a whole rigged deal. I think Google's rigged just like our government is rigged all over the place.
You would break them up, in other words?
I'd do something, but you have to have, look, I give them a lot of credit. They've become such a power. It's such a power, and you got to give them credit for that. How they became a power is, you know, really the discussion. At the same time, it's a very dangerous thing because we want to have great companies. We don't want China to have these companies. Right now, China is afraid of Google. Right now, you know, China is a very powerful, very smart group of people. I will tell you that from very personal experience.
There's an example of a Chinese tech company at the moment, TikTok.
Yeah.
You initially wanted to ban TikTok. Now you like it, apparently for some reason to do with Facebook.
Yeah.
There is a decision coming up, if you became president,
Yeah.
its Chinese parent would have to sell it, I think it's by January the 19th. Would you force them to do that?
So I originally had it all done, and then I said to Congress, your decision. I said, I'm not going to, you know, pull any strings, nothing. Your decision. You make it. But I had it all done. And I said, you make it. And they decided not to make it. I didn't care if they made it or not, because to me it was a flip of a coin. You know, you have some real First Amendment problems. You have a lot of problems.
You just talked about Chinese technology, the need to defend against it.
Yeah.
TikTok and the threat people see to many kind of American children and things like that.
Yeah, but
why do you no longer see?
You told me, no way. You're the #1 person on all of Google for stories. I mean, which probably makes sense, to be honest with you. I actually believe most of them are bad stories, but these are minor details, right? And it's only bad because of the fake news, because the news is really fake. That's the one we really have to straighten out. We have to straighten out our press, because we have a corrupt press. That's the one we really have.
Can I ask you about Silicon? I was in Silicon Valley recently. You talked to the tech bosses there and the tech people, and there seems to be a real fear that what you would do with tech is you would hand it over to Elon Musk and say, You sort it out.
No, I have great respect for Elon. Look, I saw that rocket ship come in yesterday and go right back to where it took off, to the gantry, I guess they call it. And I said, what the hell? I was on a phone talking about probably politics, and the television's on, and I'm seeing this big thing where the white paint was burned off it from the, thousands of miles an hour, the heat. And I see this big, massive tube that's 10 stories, 20 stories tall come down. I told the person on the phone, wait a minute, I'm seeing something I don't believe it. Neither does anybody else here. And I said, wait a minute. I forgot the guy was on the phone. He waited for a half hour. And I watched that come down. And I watched it come down and come right in between those big levers. And I said, and it looked to me like I was going to crash. It was coming in hot. And all of a sudden, boom, you see the motor, the fire kick in. And I called Elon. I said, that's the most incredible thing. I said, can Russia do that? Nope. I said, can the United States do it? Nope. He's the only one that can do it. And I said,
you now want to put him in charge of deregulation.
Not deregulation, cutting.
Cutting wasteful spending.
Cutting.
Every single
which
president,
would include deregulation.
I've
got to approve it.
Every president comes in and talks about cutting wasteful spending.
Oh, there's tremendous ways.
Give me an example of something you will do that will get rid of government spending.
Well, let me give you an example. When I came into government, I was the first thing.
An example going forward.
Well, no,
not
but
what you did in the past.
this is going forward because it's the same thing. When I first sat down, a general came into my office and he said, "Sir, it's nice to meet you. Would you please sign this?" I said, "What is it?" It's a contract for a new Air Force One, which is actually 2 planes, not one, 2 Boeing 747. And I said, "How much is it?" $5.7 billion. So it's a hell of an expensive plane, but there's reasons for that. He said, "Nope, I'm not signing it." I said, "Who negotiated? Barack Hussein Obama." I said, "I'm not signing it." Why? Because there's a lot of fat. I said, "I'm not signing it. It's got to have a 3 on it." Anyway, long story short, some of you have heard this. I got it down to, because first week they cut off $400 million. He said, "I'll cut." I met with the head of Boeing. Wait, Dennis. I said, "Dennis, you got to have a 3. 5.7 is too much. 5.7 billion." He said, "The most I'll take off is $400 million. I said, "Well, that's not bad for one conversation." So I got it down. I said, "Nope, I'm not accepting." Then he took off 2 more. Then he took off. Anyway, 2 months went by, 3 months went by. I thought we blew the deal, and it was okay with me. I didn't care. But we should have a new Air Force One. When we see these planes from Saudi Arabia, from different countries, brand new, and ours is like 32 years old, and it's a very different plane. It's a much smaller plane, the whole thing. The United States should have the best plane, I will tell you. Not for me, but we should have it. Let me just finish. So he said, he calls up after like 2-3 months. I didn't call him, which is the best way to buy something. Don't call back. And he goes, in fact, when he called me, I said, "I wonder what the hell he wants." That's a good way to negotiate, let me tell you. So he calls back, said, "Sir, $3,999,999,999.99 1 penny below $4 billion. So I said, "You got yourself a deal." Then I said to him, "Let me ask you a question. So you had a deal at $5.7 billion, and in a period of 2 months, I got $1.7 billion off. That means you were going to make $1.7 billion profit on an airplane. Did nobody ever negotiate with you?" "Well, not really, sir. This is the price." And they said, "We'll take it." And I said, and then I learned, that was my first experience, from that. But then I learned everything is like that. There is so much waste. So I'm getting, think of this, the exact same plane for $1.7 billion less, except I have a better paint job. Okay, much better paint job. A different color, red, white, and blue is beautiful. And if you look at every contract, that's one contract, and relatively small compared to most. Think of it. You save $1.7 billion because you negotiate. Every deal is like that. We're building ships that are costing 2-3 times more.
Can you give me an example of
There's
something?
Tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse in our country. And if you could cut it, you would have a surplus without even going into growth. But growth, we will grow. We're going to bring companies and jobs in at levels that you've never seen. And you would never be able to do it because you're not a believer in tariffs. The only way, let me tell you, the only way you can do it is through the threat of tariffs. It's the only way you can do it.
Can we come back to one thing on that? Deal making. You look out across this room, there's some big businesses, but a lot of small ones.
A lot of
By the
big
way,
ones.
you've given us a lot of examples of things where you've negotiated with the heads of big businesses.
Right.
Give you an example. When you put the tariffs on China, much smaller than you're planning to do at the moment, when you put them on, Apple came, you negotiated a difference for them.
I did.
That's much harder for small business people. Isn't the problem with the way that you do these kind of deals? You're bound to deal with the big companies. It's the small companies who get hit by all these different things and can't find exceptions.
Oh, we have exceptions. No, we had an exception rule. I gave Apple an exception. Tim Cook is a great business.
Apple is not a small company. And
No.
Please
no,
don't
but,
give it
but,
to
he,
Tim Cook.
but here's what happened.
The question is about small business.
Yes, but I
What
would
will
make
you do for them?
No, but we have a very talented group of people. Bob Lighthizer did a very good job. We had great people. We had central casting. These are great, and a large group of people. We made exceptions. In the case of Apple, they needed an exception. You know why? Because of Samsung. He came to me and he said, Samsung makes a product similar to ours, very good product, the phones and other things. And because they're in South Korea, they don't have the tariffs. Because we're in China, we have the tariffs. I said, you happen to be right. You're not going to be able to compete. I said, look, I'm going to give you a 1-year break, but I want you to start building your factories in this country, whether it's Texas or any other place, anywhere in the country. And he said, what does that mean? I said, you have everything in China. I want you to move it from China back to our country. And he started doing that. And he built a factory, a big one in Texas. He built another one. And this was all a process. It was all happening. But I did give him an exception. And the reason was, he said, as soon as he said Samsung, I said, how is that product compared to yours? He said, it's a good product. I said, then you really can't compete. You can't have a 25 or a 50% tariff and compete, right? Yeah. And I said, I'm giving you an exception. And I did it for many companies.
But what happens if a small,
but the ultimate
businesses come and see
I know,
you?
but
That was the question.
But we do it for small businesses too. We do it for small business. I'll give you another example. We have a man who I didn't know, but he came to me. He was at a meeting, and he built kitchen cabinets. And he was, pretty big in the business. That's all he did is build kitchen cabinets. He said, sir, China and South Korea are building kitchen cabinets for 1/3 of what I can make them. I said, what's the quality? They're not as good, but they're good enough. I can't compete. I'm going out of business. I have 2,000 people that work for me. I'm going out of business. I put a 25% tariff still on kitchen cabinets. I saw the guy 3 days ago. He said, I'm the man that saw you about kitchen cabinets. You saved my company when you did the tariff, and you saved thousands of jobs, and my company is now doing very well. And he started to cry. And this guy hasn't cried too much, I will tell you. He said, you saved my company. There's nobody that could have done that.
Maybe I can ask you then about something else.
Yeah.
Business people here in this room, business people, capital markets, they all like the rule of law. They like certainty. The Chinese, who you mentioned, other dictators,
right?
They don't like it when things go wrong. They like it when things go wrong in America. If you look at the events of January the 6th, 2021, it showed to many people America's democracy was unruly and violent. Only 3 weeks to go to the election. Will you commit now to respecting and encouraging a peaceful transfer of power?
Well, you had a peaceful transfer of power.
You had a peaceful transfer of power. You had a peaceful... Come on, President Trump. You had a peaceful transfer of power compared with Venezuela, but it was by far the worst transfer of power for a long time.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because this is what they like to do. This is what they like to do. It's very interesting.
The question, President Trump, is would you respect the decision?
When I found out about this interview, I did a little check. He's a man that has not been a big Trump fan over the years. So I had a choice. Do I do this interview or not? I'm glad I did it. But do I do this interview or do I disappoint a lot of people? Because I know a lot of people in the audience. But his view is very different than mine. Let me just tell you.
I'm asking
March. we had a term, peacefully and patriotically. These were people. If you think an election is crooked, and I do, 100%, if you think the day it comes when you can't protest, you take a look at the Democrats, they protested 2016, they're still protesting it. Nobody talks about them. But if we protest, we want to have honest elections. You think the last election was honest?
Do you think it was all the times it went to courts? The courts decided.
No, it didn't go. They went to court, and the courts all said, you don't have standing. Nobody had standing. And it's hard, frankly, after an election for a judge, but they all said you don't. Nobody ever had standing. But the facts, if you take a look, I'd show you hundreds of pages of facts. People were angry. People went there. And I'll tell you what, they never show that. The primary scene in Washington was hundreds of thousands, the largest group of people I've ever spoken before, and I've spoken before. And it was love and peace. And some people went to the Capitol. And a lot of strange things happened there. A lot of strange things with people being waved into the Capitol by police, with people screaming, go in, that never got into trouble. You know, I don't want to mention names, but you know who they are. A lot of strange things happened. But you had a peaceful, very peaceful. I left the morning that I was supposed to leave. I went to Florida, and you had a very peaceful transfer. This was not and I'll tell you what, those people that did go down, which was a tiny fraction of the people that went to Washington. I mean, you're talking about a very, very small, because 100, and I don't know what you had, 500, 600, 700 people go down to the Capitol. But those people, that was not one of those people had a gun. Nobody was killed except for Ashley Babbitt. She was killed. She was killed. She was shot in the head by a policeman that what he did was horrible.
President Trump,
so I think we should be allowed to disagree on that. And obviously, you see by the reaction in this room, there's a lot of other people.
Let's return to one other big subject you bring up repeatedly, immigration.
Yeah.
I know it's a very emotive issue for you, but just from the point of view of business people here, you look at the full effect of taking a lot of people out of the workforce, removing a lot of people. The Congressional Budget Office is banking on the fact that there'll be $9 trillion added to the GDP of America over the next 10 years by immigrants. You want to stop that process. For all the people who run businesses in the audience, I'm just focusing on the economic thing, are you prepared to say, look, it's fine to have a slightly smaller economy in exchange for having the immigration controls you want?
Okay, simple answer. I want a lot of people to come into our country, but I want them to come in legally. I don't want to have murder.
That means you will have to deport. You know, you are talking about deporting 11 million people. That is a lot of people.
Okay, you ready? It came out last week that 425,000 people are horrible criminals at the highest level. But it came out that 13,099 were let in during their administration. They tried to say longer, wrong. Over the last 3.5 years, 13,000 plus people came in, murderers. They're in jail for murder. Some were having the death penalty. They were all released into our country. 13,099 people were released into our country. We had drug dealers released. We had street gangs released. Look at what's happening in Aurora. But now I don't have to go with Aurora anymore. Look at what happened last night in Times Square, where rough migrants from all over the place. You know, it's not just South America. We have people coming in from the Congo, large numbers from the Congo and Africa. They came in, as of last night, I was speaking to Tom Homan, 180 countries. People came in. They came from prisons and jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums, a step above. They came from the terrorists. We had large numbers of terrorists come in. When I was president, we had the strongest border in the history of our country. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and walls work, by the way. Hundreds of miles. We had the best numbers we've ever had. Now we have the worst numbers. And here's the problem. We have some of the worst criminals in the world coming in. Now, Venezuela, their crime has gone down at levels that nobody's ever seen before because they've taken their street gangs and their drug dealers and they've emptied their prisons, not fully because they can't get enough buses. They've emptied their prisons. They load up the buses and they drive them into the United States, and they're dropping their prisoners into our country. Their crime is down. Their numbers are crazy how low it's dropped. I heard 72, 74%. They've taken their gangs. They've taken their criminals off the street. They've taken their people out of mental institutions, which cost them a fortune, and they've taken them and dropped them into the United States of America. Those people have to be returned. We can't live with thousands of murderers and not.
The issue I asked you about was the idea that if you reduce immigration, every economist will tell you, if you have fewer people, there is a smaller economy.
I like immigration, but they've got to come in legally.
Okay. Well, let's finish on two.
No, I want to make sure. Look, I don't want to have people that have killed 9 people and they're a sadistic, crazy nut job. We have to have people that can love our country, that can that will obey the laws, everything else. You have hundreds of thousands of criminals being dropped in, and Venezuela is one country. Look at what they have done, though, in Aurora. They've taken over apartment complexes. They've gone into the real estate business. See, they're like us, except they've done it with MK, whatever the hell they're called, right? I mean, they have weapons that are so sophisticated, our military doesn't have them. They've taken over parts of cities. In Colorado, you have a place called beautiful Aurora. Take a look at what's happened to Springfield, Ohio, where they dropped 30,000 people into a community of 50,000 people, and it's total bedlam. The hospitals can't be used anymore by the residents. The schools can't be used by the children that were there last year because other people that don't even speak the language.
The issue I asked you about, many companies here have a shortage of labor.
Yeah, that's good. We'll take care of that. We're going to get people in here rapidly, and they're going to be people that want to be in here, and they're going to be people that can love our country and won't kill people because they don't like the way they look. These are killers. By the way, some of these killers are among the most evil killers. They will look at you down, the beautiful woman there, they'll look at you and they will kill you. These are seriously sick people. And no, I don't want them in our country. And they are in our country right now. And they're in there because Kamala Harris, who's our border czar, is an incompetent person.
Trump, for the record, as you know, the crime rate is lower. Can I finish with 2 questions? The first, you just said it, you don't do old. You own and run businesses. Yeah. Would you appoint a CEO who was 78? You didn't give you a medical.
I would. Depends on this. I'd make people like Biden, who's in bad shape. I wouldn't appoint him. He's 81 or 82. He's 4 years older. But I'd appoint. I know some of the smartest people I know. I know a man that made all of his money from the time he was 80 to 90, and he was a failure all his life. He was in the drinks business.
Strangely, you didn't bring this up but you were running against Joe Biden.
No, I never attacked him for his age. In fact, I used to defend him on his age. I attacked him for his lack of competence.
I've asked you all these questions.
No, I never did. By the way, because I think it's important, and I know you do too. I know so many people in their 80s that are among. Bernie Marcus is 95, the founder of Home Depot. You have that conversation with him. He's just as sharp as you have mentally. He's just as sharp as you have voice. He's 95. I can tell you that in their 90s, I don't want to get into the 90s stuff, but you know what? I know many people in their 80s. I know guys in their 80s that won't leave the company, like family companies where they don't want the kids to take over because they're much more competent than their kids. I know them both, right? So, no, I would have no problem. And you do have another factor. You know, we've had some of our great...
On the Supreme Court, you just said...
Some of our great world leaders are in the 80s. And if you look throughout history, some of our greatest world leaders were in their 80s. No, that would bother me. But you know, I took 2 cognitive tests, and I aced them both. I think that, frankly, people, regardless, should take, if they're 50 or 40, or I think people should take cognitive tests, not because of the age, but because of something else. Now, here's the problem. They say it's unconstitutional, okay? But I would love to see cognitive tests. I don't think she could pass a cognitive test. I mean, I've watched. I don't think she could pass a cognitive test.
President Trump, you've gone over many issues on this.
We've covered a lot of territory.
I asked you many questions about things. One thing I haven't asked at all about is the state of the race.
Yeah.
I had a question for you. On election night, which state would you look at first? Which state do you think this race is going to be decided by?
So they say Pennsylvania, I would say most. I think we're doing very well there. I think you look at Michigan, too, and I'm doing very well there. You know, we don't have to look necessarily. The votes are starting to come in now. So you look at polls, but you can also look at the votes that are being cast right now. People get a pretty good indication. And based, as we discussed backstage, you know, based on the votes that are coming in so far, we're doing very well. I mean, we're way up in Pennsylvania. We're way up in Michigan. We're doing very well in Arizona. I saw Arizona. In fact, somebody said they're going to pull the plug in Arizona. They're going to give it up because it looks like we're quite a ways ahead. I think we're doing well. Look, this is a party, the Republican Party, of common sense. Forget about conservative, liberal. We're, let's say conservative, but we're really a party of, we need borders. We need fair elections. We don't want men playing in women's sports. We don't want transgender operations without parental consent. You know, there's so many things, but it's 99.9% is common sense. It really is common sense. And I like to say it. I don't know if anyone said it in the past, but I say we're really a party of common sense, and we want to have great people in our country. I want to have a lot of people come in so that you have your choice and so that they have choice. I want to, you know, I have a good heart. I have a heart where I want people to be taken care of, but I don't want to take in people where millions of people, 21 million people at least, have come in the last 3.5 years, unvetted, unchecked. We don't know anything about them. How about this? Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, I call him.
Yeah. But do you think?
No, he corrected me. He corrected me. I said, that's the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here. If they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think?
But they don't have to survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. There's never been a president that's been treated like me, so I have to fight my own way. You know?
Well, you made a very good job of.
He signed a bill in California 2 days ago that you don't even have the right to ask a person for voter ID. And if you ask a person for voter ID, of course you have to show voter ID. The only reason you wouldn't do it because they want to cheat. The bill says you cannot, it's against the law for you to ask a person, may I please see your voter ID when he votes? What is our country coming to?
Well, you've given us a tour d'horizon of where that country might be going to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you
for the conversation.
Wow. This is a big crowd. This is a big crowd. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody, and a very big hello to New York and a place called Long Island, which I know very well. And I'm thrilled to be back in the state I love with thousands of proud, patriotic New Yorkers who are really the heart and soul of America. We know that. And the reason I'm here is because it hasn't been done in many decades. It hasn't been done for a long time, but we are going to win New York. And that's the first time in many, many years that a Republican can honestly say it, and we're going to do it. We have to do it. We do it, and the election nationwide is over. We take over the White House, and we fix up our country, okay? We fix up our country. So as you know, 3 days ago, there was yet another assassination attempt on my life. I didn't know I was going to say that. It was the second one in 8 weeks by a violent radical left mobster. This evil would-be assassin got within a few hundred yards of where I stood, but thankfully, our outstanding Secret Service agent, and they are outstanding, spotted the barrel of his rifle in the bushes. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? He saw a barrel of a big, this was a big barrel. This you don't want to even talk about, AK-47. But he saw the barrel coming out a little bit out of the very lush bushes, and he took fast action to stop the gunman before I even entered the line of sight. And I want to express my thanks to the U.S. Secret Service, who was there that day, and to all of the sheriffs and law enforcement down in Florida, they're heroes who helped to apprehend the attacker. And by the way, you possibly heard the story. So the secret agent, service agent, pulled out the gun and started shooting. He said, a barrel. He didn't talk like a lot of people. They talk. How are you, sir? What would you like to talk about? Would you like to talk about the weather? No, he pulled out the gun and he started shooting at him. And the villain... No, but think of this. This could only happen with a woman because men aren't smart enough. I hate to tell you, fellas. So he dropped his gun. His car was a block away, and he started running because they had him. And he was running. And a woman driving a car innocently said, he looks like a bad person to me. He looks very suspicious. And she followed him and pulled up to the back of the car and started taking pictures of his license plate. Can you believe that? And she took the pictures of his license plate, perfect, beautiful pictures like a professional photographer, and sent them to the sheriff and said, I just looked at a man. There was something strange going on. Who the hell would do that? Right? Only a woman. Only a woman. Right. Then I asked the sheriff today, I said, so, Sheriff, if you had 1,000 events, how many people would have done that? Man or woman, how many people would have done that? Followed him, taken pictures of the license plate and also the type of truck that he was driving. He said, maybe none. So she's a hero. I got to meet her. And because of that, they were then able to catch him in a very speedy drive down the various highways in Florida, but they got him, and they got him fast. But I think it's incredible. So the agent and that wonderful woman, and with all of my heart, I thank you all for your incredible valor. What you've done is incredible. What the people of our country and law enforcement does in this country is incredible. Tonight, let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris. Have you heard of her? Who, by the way, was just rated by far the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate, more so even further left than Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas. Pocahontas. She's more so. Elizabeth Warren, she's more left than Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there. We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears, stop the lawfare and the fake lawsuits against me, and stop claiming your opponents will turn America into a dictatorship. Give me a break. Because the fact is that I'm not a threat to democracy, they are. They're doing things in politics that have never been done before in the history of our country. And worst of all, with their open borders and bad elections, they have made us into a third world nation, something which nobody thought was even possible. Americans deserve a campaign based on the issues. We try and keep it on the issues. And God has now spared my life. It must have been God. Thank you. Not once, but twice. And there are those that say he did it because Trump is going to turn this state around. He's going to turn this country around. He's going to make America great again. And maybe. And we're going to bring back religion into our country. Bring it back. These encounters with death have not broken my will. They have really given me a much bigger and stronger mission. They've only hardened my resolve to use my time on earth to make America great again for all Americans, to put America first. Going to put America first. Earlier today, I was honored to receive the endorsement of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. I love the Teamsters. They delivered all that concrete for those buildings I built in New York. They delivered the big, heavy, most beautiful trucks you've ever seen. They delivered the concrete in all those buildings I built in New York. But, you know, this hasn't happened in so many decades. We won the overwhelming majority of the local chapters and the members, and as a result, the national organization has refused to endorse the Democrat candidate for the first time in many, many decades. And I also want to thank Teamsters President Sean O'Brien, an amazing man, and all of the incredible rank-and-file Teamsters across the country, because this was a surprise. It's automatic. They endorse the Democrats. Automatic for many, many decades. But you know what? They said, they looked at her, they said, we're not going there. I'm sorry. These are tough people. And together we will secure our borders. We will protect our workers. We will defend our jobs. We will rebuild our country with American skill and American pride and American labor. Right? And just as a little side note, we should give them a round, especially because of what they and how they voted today. If they voted the other way, I wouldn't give them a round. But the Teamsters built out this beautiful stadium for tonight's event. Thank you, Teamsters. Thank you. They did a great job. To every hardworking American, whether you live in a red state, a swing state, or a state with a failed Democrat rule. This year we need to elect all Republicans up and down the ballot. We have to clean out and straighten out our country. With your vote, we are going to rescue our country. We are going to rescue our Democrat-run states. We are going to start by saving the great state of New York. Is that good? When I told some people in Washington, yeah, I'm going up to New York, we're doing a campaign speech, they said, what do you mean New York? You can't ever, nobody can win, Republicans can't win. I said, I can win New York, and we can win New York. We're going to win New York. And if you vote for me, I'm going to reduce your taxes, reduce your crime, and reduce your levels of stress, because you have a lot of stress. The only thing that I will increase are your incomes, and your love for your state will come roaring back again. Throughout American history, from generation to generation, New York has always set the standard for American life, and they have. It's been a high standard, too. Our cities were the center of business, arts, culture, our streets, ports, waterways, and they were the arteries of American commerce. They were absolute arteries. And our towns like Uniondale, Levittown, Hicksville, Huntington, these were great, great towns where you grew up and you loved and you stayed. But look at what has happened to New York and the other states, all run by radical left Democrats, every single one of them. Our heavy industries have exported overseas, and our middle class has been eviscerated, right here at home, been eviscerated. Housing costs are out of control. Inflation has cost a typical family $28,000. Think of it, in less than 4 years, $28,000. And we filthy encampments. We have horrible, disgusting, dangerous, filthy encampments of junkies and homeless people living in places that our children used to play Little League baseball, which they don't get to play very much anymore, do they? Over the past 3 years in New York City, there has been a 29% increase in robbery, a 36% increase in felony assault, a 42% increase in grand larceny, a 75% increase in carjackings. Did you buy a nice car lately? Well, 200 police officers leave the NYPD, New York's finest. I always say, I knew it well, New York's finest. They leave every single month, 200 people a month. Incredible people. They're incredible people. The trains and subways are squalid and unsafe. The median of our highway, all those medians, they spend all that money, they're falling down, they're rotting. Businesses are fleeing. The mobs of illegal migrants are being put up in luxury hotels at your expense, while our great veterans live on the freezing or steaming sidewalks right outside the main entrance to where the migrants enter their hotel. Think of that. Think of it. We have veterans lying on the street, squalid, lying on the street, sometimes freezing, sometimes it's hot, it's summer. And they're looking at people just came into our country, and they're going up to the 17th floor of their suite. How crazy has our country become? And can you imagine what those veterans, when they watch this, must be saying? But listen to this. Can you also imagine what the migrants must be thinking? They're saying, can you believe this? We just came from a place, in many cases, they were in prisons, and now they're living in hotel suites while our veterans are living on the street. And so I say to the people of New York, with crime at record levels, with terrorists and criminals pouring in, and with inflation eating your hearts out, vote for Donald Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Think of it. What the hell do you have to lose? You know, some of you remember that was a phrase that I used for our black population years ago in 2016. I said, with the worst housing conditions, the worst education, the worst this, the worst that, the most crime. I went through 12 different things, and it wasn't in the sheets. And I'm saying, boy, that's really terrible. And I said, and I was at like 2%, not too good. And I said to the black population gathered in front of me, vote for Trump. What the hell do you have to lose? I said that, same thing. And you know what happened? I got eviscerated when I went backstage. But I'm not like Biden where he takes, so I fight back with my people. Remember, we still signed the check. They said, sir, that's a terrible thing to have said. I said, when you said, what the hell do you have to lose? It's terrible, it's demeaning, it's horrible. I said, but it's true. You know what happened? The next day, I picked up 10 points with the black population. And now, because of all we've done, we're at the highest level of black support in the history of the Republican Party. And by the way, the Hispanic support, do we have any Hispanics? The Hispanic support is off the charts, and they don't know what the hell to do about it. It's off the charts. And we just had some great polling come out. I think the most accurate poll